Imagine a person who can memorize millions of numbers without a single mistake and speak languages he has never heard before. He doesn't see numbers or digits like we do, but sees them as colors and shapes. This phenomenon that you've just heard from me isn't some science fiction movie. This is a real person named Daniel, whom scientists have nicknamed the superbrain, because he possesses calculation, mathematical, and linguistic abilities that have baffled scientists. Imagine him calculating impossible numbers without even thinking, his brain memorizing thousands and thousands of digits, and his ability to learn a complete language in just 7 days. Today's story isn't an ordinary one. Today, we will delve into the mind of a genius named Daniel Tammet, whose very personality is different from that of an ordinary human. His childhood was very difficult. Anyway, what you're about to see with me in this video will seem like a science fiction movie or like I'm telling you about a miracle. But this is real. That's why I want you to sit down, give this video your time, and maybe even have a drink with it. And as usual, leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed, leave a subscribe so we can continue. Let's go. The story began when Daniel was still young, and he says that one day, when he was 4 years old, his brain started working in a way no one had ever seen before. In 2002, a team of journalists came to him and brought a calculator to see if this being who calculates in this way was real, or if it was just nonsense. They wanted to film him and show him to the world. The first thing the journalists did when they sat with him was to ask, "Can you calculate 37 4 times?" Meaning 37 times 37 times 37 times 37? Daniel was silent for a moment, took a breath, and then calmly said the answer was 1,874,161. The journalists and the people who came with them were shocked. Daniel answered correctly without hesitation. But to make sure he hadn't just memorized the operations, they gave him an impossible division problem: 13 divided by 97. Even though the calculator stopped at 32 decimal places, Daniel continued and gave the numbers one by one without making a mistake. Even the scientists who came were stunned by what they were seeing in front of them. Was this real? Was this man's brain like a supercomputer? Anyway, what I've just told you was only the beginning of what's inside Daniel Tammet's mind. And you'll see what happens next because the story will get stranger than you can imagine. Daniel was born on January 31st, 1979, in a small town in England. He seemed like a normal, ordinary kid to people. But inside his home, his parents noticed strange things about him. As a child, he would suddenly convulse and have severe epileptic seizures, falling to the ground. His parents, after these seizures and what he was going through, didn't know if he would survive or not. Time passed, they took him to the doctor, and he started to get a little better, and the illness began to subside. But they started to notice he was strange and not like other children. They noticed he memorized numbers quickly. While other kids would go outside and play football and play with each other, Daniel Tammet wouldn't. He would prefer to stay at home and play with numbers, symbols, a pen, and paper. When his parents would ask him, he would tell them that he felt numbers like colors and shapes. Imagine that. The number 5 represented the color blue to him, and the number 9 had a special shape for him, and he considered it correct, cool, and big. The number 6 looked like someone thin and weak, not worth looking at. The number 1 looked like a tall tower with a lot of light. This is how numbers appeared to him. Scientists later named this phenomenon, which they found in many people, synesthesia. If you search for it on YouTube, you'll see that many people have it. This phenomenon means the mixing of the senses. There are people who have it and see music as colors. You'll find they are talented and creative in music. And there are other people who have it and smell numbers. Some people hear numbers, and not just numbers, but also colors, objects, and everything. This phenomenon is very rare and not found in many people. It's found in one person in 100 million. However, Daniel Tammet's synesthesia was very rare. This mixing of senses, or synesthesia, that he had meant he experienced numbers as colors. So, when he saw a very long number with many digits, his brain wouldn't stop like ours. He would see images of those numbers in his head and store the images as colors in his brain. He would retrieve them later like a movie. When he recites them to you, it's as if he's retelling a movie he's already watched. In 2004, scientists decided to perform an experiment on him. It wasn't an ordinary experiment. They wanted to test him on the number pi, or they wanted to see the largest number of decimal places he could recite. To simplify it for you, you've all studied the number in math, which is 3.14. But it's not just 3.14. There are many digits after the decimal point. It's 3.14159 to infinity. People usually know two or three decimal places, like what we learn in regular math. But Daniel, in the experiment with the scientists, sat in front of them and started reciting the numbers of pi to infinity. He challenged them and said, I'm going to recite thousands of digits for you, and you bring thousands too to check and see if I'm correct. So, that group of scientists came to a hall, and even some people came to watch. He sat in front of the group of scientists and journalists and people and started reciting the digits of pi after the decimal point from his mind. Digit after digit, number after number. Can you believe what I'm telling you? He was reciting numbers for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. People were shocked by what they were seeing in front of them and said, what is happening to us? Imagine this. Daniel reached 22,514 digits after the decimal point in the number pi without making a single mistake. And here, the Guinness Book of World Records was officially present, and he entered the Guinness Book of World Records. To this day, no one has broken his record for the number pi, and it's probably impossible for someone to come along and break his record. Do you know what 22,000 digits after the decimal point is? After 3.14? It's really something incredible. The scientists were truly baffled. They said, how can a human brain memorize all these numbers in this way? And he himself said to them, I don't do calculations. I just read the images of the numbers that come into my mind, and I recite them for you. That's it. Daniel Tammet thought this was normal, but it's not. But the story of his brain doesn't end here. Besides calculations, Daniel had an obsession with languages. He learned Spanish easily, as well as French, German, and even Icelandic, and many other lesser-known languages. He didn't just know them and speak them simply. He knew them very well and spoke them. To prove his ability to learn languages quickly, he went to Iceland and was given an impossible challenge there. They told him, look, you have to learn our language, Icelandic, in 1 week. Would you believe me if I told you that after just 7 days they brought him to a television show in front of cameras and a lot of people? You won't believe what Tammet did. He started speaking Icelandic on that Icelandic program with complete fluency. The program's host stopped from the shock and said, this is unbelievable. Icelandic is harder than Russian, and he learned it in a week. But Daniel answered calmly because he doesn't have much social communication skills. He said to him that it came easy to him because the images of the Icelandic words come into his mind. It's not like he gets sentences and has to think before speaking. He gets images. So he just reads the images of the words, like how if I asked you to retell a movie you've already watched, those images of the movie you saw would come to your mind, and you'd retell it. And it's the same for him with numbers and words. Naturally, when universities and institutes saw a guy like this, they wanted to get their hands on him. Doctors and scientists, on the other hand, said, we need to study this guy well because he might reveal secrets of the human mind and human genius that we haven't reached yet. They took him and conducted an experiment on him with a magnetic resonance imaging MRI scan. The result was that they found the calculation areas in his brain working in a fantastical and extraordinary way, not like us normal humans. What's strange is that they found he uses other methods in his brain that only he knows to reach these results. The scientists began to suspect and connect the dots. They wanted to understand why he was like this and said, maybe that epilepsy he had when he was young is what caused his brain to transform. Or maybe it short-circuited something in his brain and he became like this. They said maybe that illness when he would fall opened a door for new abilities in his human self. Daniel Tammet isn't just a computer mind. In his daily life as a human, he really suffers because he has symptoms of the autism spectrum. His social communication with other people is very difficult for him, and he can't form a single relationship with people. He has no friends at all except for his parents, and he feels very lonely and strange among people. But his talent made his place in society apparent, and he started to have a role in society. And here, when he got a little older, he wrote books that many people read. Among these books is Born on a Blue Day. In this book, he writes about how he feels on the inside, loneliness, anxiety, and not being like normal humans, and how he experiences colors and numbers on the inside. This book went viral around the world, especially among scientists, and it made many people understand that genius can come from suffering. Daniel's story isn't just about numbers and calculations. It's proof that the human mind has potentials we haven't discovered yet. The human mind can reach very great things. Now, it might seem to us that we have reached an amazing level of intellect with the inventions that exist in all this. But in the future, we will see that we were the ignorant ones, and there are amazing abilities in the human mind that we haven't reached. A child who was sick with epilepsy, whose parents wondered if he would live, grew up to become a global symbol of genius. And any scientist in the world you go to and say, Daniel Tammet, will know him and will know that he is almost a miracle. He was able to show the world that being unique and different is not a flaw. And on the contrary, that difference could be what changes your life and becomes the greatest strength in your life. Anyway, Daniel Tammet is no longer just a name in psychology and mathematics, but a living witness who is still alive today, who shows us that the human brain is much harder and more complex than any computer in the world. And this is what we need to reflect on and say, praise be to God, because a computer can reach who knows what, but it can't reach the human brain. The human brain has no limits. The issue isn't that he's extraordinary or superhuman, but that he taught us one thing, that each one of us might have hidden abilities. We just need to know how to look for them and unleash them to live this life well with them. Anyway, that was the story of Daniel Tammet. Don't forget to write your opinion about him in the comments and a nice comment to support me. And as usual, it was me, HLS47. Leave a like and subscribe. Bye.